All right, back again, and I want to discuss in this message about the effects that older narcissistic relatives, at least, have on the whole family cell structure. Um, as we know, like when they get older, so if we're dealing with like grandparents, stuff like that, that are at the top of the family chain. One of the things that happens, you'll notice growing up or coming up, if you just look back and pay attention to it, is just how they implemented a strategic division of the family. A lot of this comes on by blatant favoritism, right? We have that golden child that the narcissistic parent will, you know, invest most of their time and efforts and, so forth, these things, locking in and trying to really home into keeping this individual, at least, as their, I guess you can say it's like their the narcissist's right hand man, the golden child. And what oftentimes happens is the rest of you start seeing the rest of the children, at least, or within the family, start to notice the favoritism, start to notice how you may be corrected, chastised, punished for something, but with the other individual, the golden child, everything gets downplayed or swept up under the rug. And if you try to confront the narcissistic parent or so about this situation, it will only bring wrath against you, right? Unnecessary punishments, the withholding of emotion or love, or that feeling of caring gets withheld from you. Most of this, like I said, if you think back, if you just look at how that dynamic works, the narcissist is very skilled at dividing and conquering, right? Where a lot of times in front of your face, they're showing and telling you one thing. Behind your back, they're doing and saying differently, right? Narcissists are very good at isolating certain individuals to be dependent upon them, whether it's even emotionally. You can look at it where narcissists like to withhold those emotions from the one that just so much seeks just to have that little recognition or comfort from the narcissist, right? And the narcissist will withhold that because they know you want it, because they know that will keep you hanging on for dear life and trying to put in effort after effort after effort to gain it from them. And it's a never ending chase that you're not going to win. But that's part of the strategy, to keep you running after them, trying to appease them, trying to win them over for their love, affection, and caring, right? And many of you, when you deal with people in general, right, and you have these difficult battles and interactions with people, a lot of times you're not battling the individual, you're battling their upbringing. Yeah, that's what's happening. You're not you're not taking on, when you see all of that stuff that you look at the individual because you're dealing with them, and that's who you know, on the surface, you're like, this person is this way and that way, but you're battling that person's past upbringing, which essentially you're battling the parent, so to speak, of the individuals who have and the most influence upon that person's life in the background. That's who you're really going up against. That's who you're really trying to struggle and wrestle with, because the individual in front of you is nothing more than a shell of, or a program of, what that dysfunctional, toxic upbringing was. All right. And so that's how narcissistic parents can have such an influence, a detrimental influence upon individuals that are children of theirs, or within that family structure. Right. It can, and that's why it's so detrimental, and why it brings such destruction it's long term. This just doesn't stop at the childhood interaction. This spills into the adult life of people who had narcissistic parents. And that's why you see the whole family structure is dysfunctional and off, because a lot of them dealt with favoritism, dealt with having to defend themselves, even though they knew they were right. They were being told that they were wrong and punished. Right? So think about how much confusion that causes from a child. And then you go into adulthood, having to endure all those things. The world and everything and interactions becomes quite confusing, and this is what where many of the complexities of relationships and trying to understand other people come into play after you've dealt with a narcissistic parent. Because when you start getting around people who are healthy, that are going against what you're accustomed to going through with that narcissistic individual, that parent, it's quite confusing. So in many ways, dealing with or having came from a narcissistic parent really messes the person up long term in many ways, to where it's not so easily they're not so easily able to transition out of the effects and that residue of growing up in that environment. And this is how many individuals, either they become narcissistic, or they become codependent, or they're messed up in the head coming from that type of environment. Environment plays a big role in it. Being around a narcissistic parent or individual in your upbringing, it plays a big role with it. And that's why you see many family structures that have a narcissist at the helm, at the head of everything, completely dysfunctional and in shambles. Right? There's no one to set what's right in place. And after growing up in that, somebody's going to come out defective. Yeah. One narcissist can spoil the whole batch of things. And many of the answers you want, at least, as to why you even attract certain people today in life. You have to just look and go down back into your upbringing and what you went through within the family cell structure. You know, to witness someone promoting and backing someone that's in the wrong, and you see it and you know it to be wrong, but yet the person who is over you, who is your parent, who you look up to, they're supporting this growing up, right? You saw it, you witnessed it. But outside of the family structure, everywhere else, you see and hear that certain things are wrong and not right. So there has to be a major mental shift at a certain point to get out of the defective programming of narcissistic parents and upbringings. So I don't want to go too deep into this because it can be a long video, but essentially that's what happens and how it plays itself out in that structure and that dynamic. So just be mindful. Many individuals that you may deal with, they may not be narcissists, but if they came from a narcissistic upbringing and background, you're going to be wrestling and dealing with that person's upbringing. And depending on how toxic and dysfunctional it was, will dictate the outcome of whatever union you're trying to create with that individual. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. Like, share, subscribe. Till next time, have a good one.